I wrote this song with my buddy Terry McBride and a new artist at the time named Craig Campbell. And Wynn and I were just talking about this artist backstage and how it's cool that he just keeps, man, it's like the gift that keeps on giving. He just keeps repackaging things and putting them out and stuff like that. And it gives us an opportunity to, it just generates more income for our songs. And I wrote this song, like I said, with Terry and Craig. Terry McBride and I have been just great friends for a long time, and he was in the group McBride and the Ride back in the 90s, one of my favorite groups, man, the 90s. And we just become really close friends and written a lot of songs together, had hits together, cuts together, and we had been writing about every Wednesday or every other Wednesday at this time for a couple years, and Keith Stigall was producing and had a new artist named Craig Campbell at the time, and he was like, "Hey man, would y'all write with him?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, tell him to call me or whatever, and we'll get a date. And we were writing every Wednesday, and so Craig came over that day, and he had he said, "Man, I think I got a title for a song," and I said, "Cool, what is it?" And he said, "The title is All American Comeback Kid." And he was telling us about this story he'd seen on Good Morning America that morning about this kid and how he'd, last second of the game, he ran in the winning touchdown and they did a big write-up on him, the All-American Comeback Kid, he won the game, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, man, that's cool. And so we wrote first couple verses and chorus of this thing. We were just trying to figure out, well, what do we do now? Now that we've kind of got what we got, now where do we take this song? And so we talked about it, and I had a really good friend of mine that served at Fort Campbell. I'm originally from Kentucky, and my folks' family farm's about 10 miles from camp up there at Fort Campbell. And through the years, we raised a lot of tobacco and had a lot of cattle and put up hay and all that stuff. And through the years, we'd get sometimes those service guys would come help us, on the farm and stuff when they weren't, working there on the base. And two or three times, I guess, we've had really great folks come that have still been lifelong friends of my family and my dad. So anyway, there was a sergeant major that was in the Special Forces, that made Special Forces, which is high as you can go in the Special Forces. And his name was Kelly Mahoney. He was a dear friend of mine. I team roped with him, and I was telling him the story about him. I said, man, let's write this thing about him on the back half of this thing. And they were like, yeah, man, let's do it. And so we wrote this song, and as soon as we got it done, Keith loved it, and they took it in and cut it on Craig. And Terry and I were singing harmony on the day that we put down the work tape, the guitar vocal and stuff. Terry plays bass, and he's amazing. I was playing, Craig was playing, and Terry was playing bass, and we were singing harmony. Craig's a great singer. And anyway, so they asked us to come over, and when they cut it, they said, will you come over and sing harmony on the record? And we said, sure, man, we'd love to. So Terry and I got through writing one day. We drove over there to the studio and went in, and I put my part down. Terry went in and put his part down, and they threw it up on the big speakers there in the studio and just kind of tweaked it a little bit and played it back for us. Man, we were high-fiving. We walked out the door and drove straight to the boat store and bought a couple boats. We were so excited about this song, it was crazy. And we bought us a couple boats and went on about our business. And a couple months later, we were headed to the lake, and Craig's record had just come out. We were like, hey, man, let's go to the lake, and we'll stop by the Walmart and pick us up a copy of that record. Give us something to listen to. So we did, and we go in there, and we find the shelf that's got all the new releases on it. We found Craig's record, picked it up, got us a couple copies. We was walking to check out there and flipped it over and looked at the titles on the back of the record, and our song wasn't on there. That's what I said. On the way to take our boats back to the boat store, we, after we found out our song wasn't on the record, we were kind of up the creek, if you know what I mean. So we was over there, and I called Keith Stigall because he had produced my stuff on my record deals, and I said, Keith, what happened, man? What's going on? Why didn't the song make the record? And he said, well, man, promotion didn't think this or whatever, and it didn't end up there or whatever. And I'm handing my key back over to the dude at the boat store with the yellow floaty on it, and stuff, and he's taking it, and I'm kind of pissed off. Anyway, and Keith said, but I tell you what. And I said, what? He goes, man, I promise you that song's going to get cut. And I was like, well, yeah, okay, whatever. That don't do me any good today. I had a boat, now I don't have a boat. So anyway, fast forward about 2 or 3 months later, I was playing one of these things down during CMA Fest. It's Fanfare is what I've called it forever, but it's called CMA Fest now. And riders around, and some friends of mine were in town, and so later that night after I got through playing, I was hanging out with them, and it got to be about midnight or whatever, and I get this text on my phone. It says, hey, man, I think your song got cut today. And I thought, oh, crap, because I knew who was in the studio cutting at that time, and it'd been a long time since he'd been in the studio cutting, and I thought, oh, man, could it really be? And so I had the engineer's number, Mark, and I thought, man, I'm gonna text Mark and see if he's working on that record too, you know. And I fired him off a text, said, hey, man, did y'all cut a song called All American Comeback Kid today? And I was hanging out, and you know how you do. You got your phone up there, and you're looking, and you're waiting for them bubbles to pop up, you know, and just waiting on, oh, man, come on. And dang, them bubbles popped up, and I thought, uh-oh, got a fish on the line now. And I'm looking, waiting to see what his reply is. And it came up with a big YES exclamation point, and you're going to love it. Yes, and you're going to love it. And I thought, that's amazing. So what didn't end up on Craig's record ended up on a comeback record for a guy named Garth Brooks. Yeah, it's crazy, man. This business will drive you crazy on one hand, and on the other hand, the good Lord will go, you know what? If you'll turn this over to me and let me have it, I'll take care of it. But if you want to worry and stress, go ahead and worry and stress. But if you'll let me have it and give it to me, I'll show you where these songs belong. And that's what he did with this. So Wynn and I was talking back there, this was on the Man Against Machine record, and he did it at the ACM Awards that year at Dallas Stadium down there at Jerry World, and had all the troops come down and march down, and Chris Kyle's wife introduced him, and it was really cool. He played a red, white, and blue Buck Owens telly on the show, which I loved. But when we got to hear the record, we all got to go over and hear our cuts, because Garth had us all in the studio to hear the record. And he said, man, I tell you what, he said, the reason I cut this song is because y'all brought the soldier home alive in the song. And I just thought that was so cool, because it just gave a nod to my buddy Kelly Mahan, who was served our great country. And if there's anybody else in here that served our country, God bless you, we love you. He was the captain of the team his senior year. Had that look in his eye that said no fear. Down by 6 ball on the 10. He said, huddle up, boys, we got a game to win. He snapped the ball, he looked left and right, and nobody was open, so he tucked it tight. With the champion's heart inside of him, the clock ran out as he ran it in. And the whole town cheered, and his mama cried. They rushed that field and raised him high. With his picture in the paper, the headline read, the All-American Comeback Kid. He was recruited by the best schools across the land, but he decided to sign with Uncle Sam. Kissed his mama goodbye in the living room, said, Dad, don't worry, I'll be back soon. 3 tours of duty and a Silver Star, flew back home with his battle scars. Stepped off the plane in his combat boots and saluted the red, white, and blue. And the whole town cheered and his mama cried. They rushed that field and held him high. With his picture in the paper, the headline read, "The All-American Comeback Kid." He's the All-American Comeback Kid. And this song's for those who never did come back home, All-American Kid.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.